Hey guys, how you doing? So I've been in Colorado for quite a while now. I moved here from Oregon about 16 years ago. I thought I was used to Colorado. I thought I knew what the state had to offer. I traveled around a bunch, kind of went over the place with some friends on short vacations, and living for an extended period of time from Colorado Springs to Castle Rock to Denver and so forth. But kind of getting up towards Boulder, things still surprised me. So I want to kind of share this with you so you can kind of make the most informed decision possible and really, investigate what makes Boulder special to see if it's the right fit for you. So today we're going to talk about the 10 things that surprised me most about moving to Boulder. Let's go ahead and dive in. Number one, and this is a pleasant surprise, the weather is a lot better than you might think, especially if you're moving from out of state. Colorado in general has got pretty darn good weather. Most people think Colorado is like this big snowy, especially in the wintertime. And that's really not been my experience, particularly in Boulder. Yeah, we're gonna get some snow, but it usually melts within a day or so, maybe less. And there's just a ton of sunshine. It's really gorgeous here almost all the time throughout the year. Yeah, you're gonna get your occasional snowstorm. You'll get some hail, which is definitely a consideration if we are gonna own our home up here. But largely, you're gonna get 300 plus days of sunshine. Even the winter months, you can kind of do whatever you need to do, get out and about, enjoy the beautiful outdoors, and not feel like you need to be kind of huddled inside or wasting some of the awesome nature that Boulder has to offer. So the weather here is really, really great. That was a pleasant surprise, and that was surprise number one. Surprise number two, people here are just more active in general, and they usually take advantage of being able to be outside a lot. I consider myself a pretty good outdoors person when I moved out here. I liked fishing, I liked hunting, I liked just going on hiking, biking trails, like walking, all that good stuff. But you're just gonna participate more in all of those things naturally by living in Boulder because of, largely what the community does, right? Those 300 plus days of sunshine make the hiking and biking and walking trails kind of a daily activity. There's Wonderland Lake. There's great access to head to the mountains, check out some great hikes up there. Cooler weather in the mountains as well, so that can be a great way to escape the summer heat. You're gonna be pulled into nature a little bit naturally, just by being a part of the community here. So take advantage of it, right? I would say it's gonna be a change for some of you. Maybe you're not as used to kind of taking advantage of the outdoors. And you don't necessarily have to be a nature lover or even a super physical, athletic person to enjoy living here. But be prepared to get naturally pulled into some of the awesome outdoor activities that are available to you in Boulder, just because, hey, might as well, and it's gonna be a beautiful part of living here. Surprise number three, and this may be not the most pleasant surprise for some of you. So most homes in Boulder are going to be a little bit smaller in general than you might see in some other places, right? So moving to Boulder from out of state could be a bit of a downsize from a size of home and a lawn perspective. If you have a large family, you need to make sure you're shopping for the correct home to make sure your needs are still met. Huge garden parties might need to adjust those a little bit to having, smaller settings to fit your smaller yard. It might be mixed indoor and outdoor, or you might just go take advantage of one of the great parks or kind of natural green spaces around Boulder that are free for everyone and everyone makes great use of. So there's going to be some adjustment possibly if you're used to larger homes and larger yards, but obviously that's also a little bit less to maintain, right? There is a good portion of that too, but it can be a trade-off to have some a little bit smaller spaces out here. So that's something you might want to get used to as you're kind of exploring online or as you do come out here and we're taking a look at homes in person. Just be prepared that it might be a little bit smaller home, maybe a little bit smaller yard than you're used to, depending on where you're moving from in your current living situation. Number four, Boulder has a reputation of being in the Boulder bubble relative to us folks here that were living in Denver previously. So a few miles away from Denver, probably takes 30, 40 minutes to get there, which is off the 25, and it's, it's off the 36. Pretty easy to get back and forth to Denver, and the community itself is very, very tight. And it was really easy to integrate into. I love the jiu-jitsu community up there. My wife loves gardening. We like kind of being out in the hiking and biking trails with our family, shared interests and shared activities, and like-minded folks that enjoy being out there and exploring Boulder together. So I found the community to be a really, really big perk and a great surprise, and it was really awesome to feel accepted. It's often scary to move to a new place, especially if you are moving from out of town or certainly out of state. It can feel like a whole new world out there. So I would say it's been my experience, at least, the Boulder community was really receptive, really welcoming, and I would be shocked if you folks moving from out of state into Boulder weren't also accepted. So be prepared to be a part of the community, right? Prepared to be welcomed, and I think you'll have a great time. Surprise number 5, and this may not be a big surprise to a lot of you guys, but the altitude here is very real. Obviously, I'd been in Colorado for several years before I moved to Boulder, but I did move from here from Oregon to, which is right at sea level, and that can be a big shock for a lot of folks. You know, we had some family in town visiting a couple weeks back, and a lot of those folks were from sea level locations. And so for them, it took a little bit of getting used to, right? So make sure you're drinking lots of water, make sure you're taking a good rest and getting yourself a chance to acclimate, they call it, to the higher level of elevation. We talked about Boulder being a particularly active community, and so it is a draw for particularly active folks. If you're one of those people that likes to get out and about, go on hikes, go on runs, just be a very physically active person in whatever respect, the altitude here will take some adjustment. So give yourself a chance to get used to the elevation. Give yourself a week, maybe 2 weeks to kind of slowly ease your way back to your normal level of activity, and you'll do just fine. The altitude's real. Take it seriously, drink water, eat well, let yourself slowly roll into your normal level of activity, and you'll be back to, doing what you do in no time. Number 6, and this is another one that may not be the most fun surprise for a lot of us, and depending on where you're moving from, Boulder is pricey, right? So Colorado is generally thought of as one of the more expensive states around, and Boulder is no exception to that. So housing is expensive. I never had to turn anyone away purely for budget, right? So there's lots of neighboring towns, and there's lots of affordable options inside of Boulder. We just have to make sure that your budget's gonna align with your desires. So as long as you go into that with clear eyes, full hearts, and you can make a good financial decision that fits your lifestyle, Boulder's not easy to work with, but is workable from a housing perspective. Other things are expensive as well, though, too. Gasoline, food, entertainment can be pricey. So make sure as you're kind of working through the realities of moving out here and buying a home, that you're working through other budget options as well. So it's a great time to have a fully baked idea, understand what your monthly budget's gonna be, because that's an important part of making sure you're having an affordable and pleasant living experience here in Boulder and really anywhere. So I'm happy to work with you closely to make sure that the housing that you're looking into matches up with your lifestyle and matches up with your budget, but making sure you have a good plan in place is gonna be a good thing to do, because Boulder can get pricey, but it's also workable as long as you live within your means and have a good plan that matches up with your lifestyle. All right, surprise number 7 here. Boulder has a great tight community, and it does maybe feel a little bit smaller than you might think. When you look at Boulder on a map and look at the city lines, it does have a pretty wide footprint. It extends into the foothills, but Boulder itself does kind of have a small town vibe to it, Pearl Street, for example, is really a great place where people go out and experience, art and entertainment, great place to eat, great place to grab a drink, great place to grab a cup of coffee. And the college obviously has its own little micro community as well that, expands outwards, because those are part of the Boulder community as well. You want to feel like you're a part of something. I think Boulder really, really does a great job of the residents experience that, right? So I would say it's got, some big city opportunities. It's got great access to Denver. It's really well supported and has its own ecosystem for, entertainment, groceries, jobs, anything you can think of, you can get in Boulder. But the way you're gonna feel there as a resident is gonna be much like a tight-knit community, a more small community, and I think it's a really great perk. So I would call that a pleasant surprise. Number 8. And we've discussed this a little bit in the past, and it'll come up again because it's Boulder. Outdoor recreation is just a part of life, right? So as you're driving around, you're gonna see people riding bikes, rollerblading, jogging, walking. People take advantage of alternative modes of travel, experiencing just some great things, whether it's Chautauqua or Boulder Canyon or some of the great state and local parks here we have. You can certainly find your own tranquil places to be, but I would say, outdoor experience being a part of daily life, you're gonna see other people out there, and I would say take advantage of it. Build that community that we talked about earlier. It can be a really great perk, but like I said, if you want some more seclusion, you want a little bit more tranquility during your hikes and bikes, just kind of pick your times, or maybe head up a little further into the mountains. There's lots of opportunities to be by yourself and experience nature in a very solemn and respectful solo way. Take a group hike, take a group bike, be a part of the outdoors collectively, and pick your spots if you want to go find an individual place to enjoy it alone. And number 9, while we're on the subject, don't have to be a great athlete to enjoy living here, right? So the elevation's high, people are very active. I was a college athlete, and so I kind of felt very prepared. But the most active people on the planet also love living here. So it's just a beautiful place to be. There's lots of great art and music and culture to experience here, totally separate from the outdoor active lifestyles we talked about so far. So you don't need to be a crazy athlete, even though we've talked about 2 points being related to being active and being in the outdoors. Just enjoy living in Boulder. If you're part of the culture here, if what we've talked about so far appeals to you, and you're okay with being, outdoor adjacent, like we talked about, just posting up at a great rooftop or a great outdoor cafe and soaking in the sun and the beautiful sights all around us, Boulder is a great spot for you as well. In number 10. So obviously as a realtor, I'm really committed. My mind often goes to the investment potential and the long-term return I'm gonna get on homes for my clients and for myself when I'm shopping too. Boulder, a big part of what you have to factor into your expense and we have to factor into the investment you're making to be a part of the real estate community here is the lifestyle that you're buying into, right? So we've spent this whole video talking about a lot of great perks. Yeah, we talked about how Boulder is a little expensive, but obviously, if the equation works out to where, you can find a place that lines up with your lifestyle, lines up with your budget, and the culture of Boulder appeals to you, that lifestyle lining up is a big part of, the equation you have to do in your head to make sure Boulder is the right place for you to live. So yes, homes can be a little bit smaller. Yes, the city's a little more expensive, but all the perks we talked about, all the great lifestyle benefits, the people who live here for a reason, and the equation for them works out to where the lifestyle living in Boulder justifies the expense, and they make it work every single day. So I'm happy to make it work every single day with you. So if you have more questions, go ahead and leave a comment down below, or if you want to talk about your favorite part about living in Boulder or a visit you took to Boulder, I would love to hear from that as well. I love making these videos for you guys, but I love even more connecting in person. So if you're interested in taking the leap, moving out here to Boulder, go ahead and give me a call, text, email, whatever works for you guys. Thanks for taking the time to watch this video today. I'll talk to you guys real soon.